here's an artist who was the opposite. He's a guy I've collected a lot of, William Littlefield. Has anybody heard of him? And that's the thing for me. While I love interacting with these dealers, because anybody asks me, who have you collected? I say, if I can afford them, you haven't heard of them. And it's true. And so none of the contemporary people making art have heard of the guys, people I collect. So, but these dealers all know them. So I can talk to these guys about William Littlefield and Henry Callum and de Hirsch Margulis and all these people from the mid-century that aren't worth a fortune, but they made nice work. One of the ones I learned about was William Littlefield, and I learned about him from my friend Vince Grimaldi. And Vince was taking a class from Reginald Marsh at the Art Student League in New York. Now, Littlefield was in the class. Littlefield was born in 1902, but he was in there for kind of a refresher. And he painted in New York, but then he went up and lived in Cape Cod, and he wrote he was an intellectual. He wrote an art column, pissed everybody out by saying negative things about Hans Hoppen, which was just, you don't do that, right?
No.
And because everybody loved Hans Hoppen. But at any rate, he made nice abstracts and so on, and they had a retrospective of his work at the Provincetown Art Museum. And so I got a lot of his work over the years, and what he documented his paintings better than anybody you've ever seen. That's why I'm passing this around. The opposite of a mystery painting. He writes on the back of it the measurements, the title, and sometimes he had more than one title. And the fact that he'd given this to Vince Grimaldi and when and all that.
Does it need to be signed on the back or just written on the back that you're made? Take a look.
I think it's good to document as much as you can about your art, so people, if you become famous in posterity, that people can, know more about you. And Mike here, my good buddy, doesn't like to date his paintings. We've argued about it because I think he should, because if there's any slight style changes over the decades that suddenly you say, oh, this is a Michael Hecht from the 1990s, this is one from the 2000s, but anyway. And this is a little Vince abstract, which was also, I have his estate well documented because he had given this one to Little Pitts when he sent it to him from Rome.
Who is that?
Vince Grimaldi. And I'll talk about different things I did with Vince's work. I haven't marketed most of it. Vince was dirt poor artist and had to leave New York and came to live in Providence. And so I have his estate. He did get a Krasner Pollock Fellowship late in life, and he painted some Sarvens, bad abstract paintings. And so what do I do with those? Well, I donated all of them to an organization, Providence, that puts them in corporate headquarters, nonprofits, in the front with his plaque. So there's like 20 of his paintings.
Nice.
When you walk in.
Who did you buy the estate from?
He left it to me. Yeah. Vince, yeah. So now going back to Joseph, he did sign some paintings during particular periods. I have 40 years of his production, and there are like 12 different artists. If any of you have been into my place in Hatch Street there. And there were particular periods where he signed in like a year and then he didn't. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to kind of figure out the sequence and at least get things to the decade. So in that case, what do? I made an estate stamp.
Oh, yeah.
And I stamp his paintings before I sell them. And this is not representative because there is no such thing. He saw stuff all over the place, and there was like 2,000 paintings to start with. So it's a bit overwhelming. I
never realized about the huge size of the bedroom piece, and I just put this bit of information together with, I don't know if you've ever seen Fortune from the BBC.
Yeah.
See, one was a woman on Fame and Fortune of the early series, and she's the same one that does the British Antiques Roadshow. And they had this turner, and they knew dead to rights it was a turner. Well, it was driving them absolutely insane. Something was off, and they couldn't figure it out. It was indeed a turner, but it was part of a massive turner. Oh, that the dealer figured, you know what? I can get, instead of £1,000 for the big one, I'll sell each one of the little ones for £500. something of that.
Oh, people do horrible things.
That's
I had this great big painting that somebody saw and they said, you know, you could cut that in 4 pieces and sell it. And I'm just like, oh my God. You know,
Did Alexander give you his estate?
no, Alexander died in 2008. So how I discovered his estate was I was going down to see Allison Wells when she had her studio on Cumming Street. And I went upstairs and there was 2 or 3 Alexanders on the wall. I'm blown away. And this woman who had a little studio there, she was straight out of My Cousin Vinny. She had a construction company. She rehabbed houses. She had been in there, worked on the house, and he'd given her a bunch of paintings. He said, go in the basement, take what you want. And then I walked around and saw that Kate was having a show of swaying people at that very time, and she had one of his. And then I sort of put 2 and 2 together. And she was going to do the estate at first, and that didn't work out. So, yeah, so I got Joseph. He wasn't known at all. So I got him, I took 2 really good ones and I got them into the Provincetown Museum auction. And I got great prices for them. I got, one modest one went for like 600, another one for 1,000, which for a totally unknown, that was terrific. And so I never put any more into auction for years after that because I was afraid to ruin it. I could sell them out of the studio and say, look, you're getting them for less than the auction records. But then finally, what happens is get them into galleries, you get them into shops, and they kept closing. It's happened so many times, it gets very frustrating. And so I ended up going back to auction in Provincetown, and I got like 45 auction rankings for it now. And some of them don't sell, but a lot of them sell for more than I'm selling them for still. So you never know. Auctions are a gamble. But, he's now a listed artist. So
I was in There's That Art with you. It's that Art Society.
Oh, okay.
And it's active at the time.
Yeah.
Serious. But the Bedford Art Society, we were at Johnny K. Kill upstairs. We're kind of black it to be, but I'm staying that we were downstairs at that National Park, and then we left. Yeah. But it was at the local art day, and
Yeah, he was
he was very active in it. I love his landscape.
And I understand he used to put things in Gallery Expo with a $2,000 price tag, so couldn't sell. So I don't think he sold much during his lifetime.
It describes like stuff. Just to go back real quick on the signing on the back. What about putting like a copyright symbol just for?
No, okay, that's a good point. 2 things to never do is put a copyright symbol on your art, and to say a certificate of authenticity, because those 2 things are used too much for fake stuff. Whenever anybody sees a deceased artist and there's some certificate of authenticity, you run from that. So it's a bad thing. Just document it, who the artist is, and as well as you can, and then hopefully it has a signature.
But on your own work, you would do it either. You might.
I'm not an artist. I can't draw a stick figure. I have another artist estate of a guy named Peter Stroud, British artist who should be really famous. He did take good care of his art. He was in a basement in Princeton. I got to be. I found one of his works in a gallery, bought it. It was from 1963. I assumed he had passed. I found he was still alive in Princeton. He'd retired. I cold called him, and then I would stop to visit him and his wife on the way back and forth driving to North Carolina, and bought some other things from him. And I have the estate. I've had the earliest pieces, which are potentially the most valuable outside of New York City, and a storage locker, which is just a money sink. I've got to get out of it this year.
What do you mean? He gave you his estate?
His wife gave me his estate, yes. I'm selling it, yeah, she gets some of it. There was one valuable painting by another artist in there I sold for her in New York for $65,000, which is really good. The guy that taught at Bennington, because Peter Stroud had come and taught at Bennington initially. He was I'm blanking on his name, really good abstract artist. But it was damaged too, so it would have been worth much more than that if it had been pristine condition. The problem was
he kept all this stuff in a basement, and his earliest stuff was painted, these great big paintings with little wooden reliefs on them, so they're big and fragile, and he painted them with emulsion. It's a nightmare. And so I've been trying to, it's just not working because it's too expensive to restore them for what I can get at auction. And his auction prices in England, where he's from, he's part of the Situation Group. You go to the Portrait Gallery in London, there he is, as part of the 6 members of the Situation Group with Robin Denny and people like that. He should be really famous and valuable, but he didn't have an auction record in New York. Finally, one of his 50s construction pieces went for, like $35,000 or something. And I thought, okay, now's the time. But I put a nice early one from the 60s in there, abstract, and it went for $5,000, which unfortunately isn't anywhere near enough to restore his work with the mold spots on these emulsion surfaces, which is a matte finish. And so I've been sitting there for years and talking to various dealers, and everybody says the same thing. I sent some out to a big fancy auction gallery at Santa Fe. They had prices of $30,000 to $40,000 on them. A lady took one to think about it in Dallas. If it had sold, it'd be a different history. Didn't sell. They sent them all back. And so it is what it is. And, if the problem is, again, it's just that they're in a basement, they're getting damaged. And there's some that aren't damaged from the 70s, and I'm going to give those to an auction house and let them just...
What are your paintings? Someone sells for very low price. That's your record.
That's why you want to... It's a gamble. All auctions are a gamble.
But you don't own it anymore, so someone else had one of your paintings, so they sell it or something.
No, there's nothing you could do about it. That's why you want to beat them to the punch. That's why you want to put a really good one. Don't say, I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to put an average painting into an auction. You want to put one of your best. You want to put one that everybody's going to fight over, right? So maybe it's hard for you to let go of, but you put it in a good auction that's appropriate for that painting. You want people to fight over, and then you tell everybody that's bought one of his or her paintings that it's going to be there. Let them bid on it. And then that's where you get your best record. If you put sort of a so-so painting, the wrong auction, it's not going to be good. So it's a gamble, but still a gamble. But,
How do you figure out what is the right auction house?
well, what's the style of art? I mean, is it if it's like just take Eldred's auction house. They had an auction today, Women in Art, which of course I look at everything online. So if it's modernist or abstract, even they have different sort of kinds of auctions and categories. They took a more realistic Joseph Alexander because I put some of his in with them, and who's that?
So I could auction something off like that,
Maybe.
abstract.
Yeah, I mean, abstracts go. Just depends on the right auction house. Provincetown, they take a lot of abstracts, but they generally want you to have some affiliation of Provincetown.
So, but that's an interesting word, affiliation. So, depending on the auction house, if it's more of we use the word provincial, lower level, community oriented. Is that what they're looking to do? Is just to fish from the waters around them, or
No, they take people from further afield, and if it's a good painting, if it's a known artist especially, they're gonna want to auction it. So, and Eldred's is also quite general. But again, they also have different categories of auctions. If people often, if they have an artist that's already listed, they'll look at who's already sold that artist and what prices they got,
What if you get paintings from an artist? So I had an artist, she gave me all of her paintings. She's moved, and she's like, I'm done with oil paintings. Like, she basically drop kicked her paintings out of her house. But she also gave me a bunch of paintings that were not hers. They're other artists' paintings. She just basically got rid of all of her stuff, and some of those artists are still alive. So how do you deal with that situation? Could that be put up for auction, sold, or donated? So is there ethical obligation to get in touch with that original artist?
If they were hers and she gave them to you, they're yours to do whatever you want with. Yeah. Now,
What if it was a study? or like a demonstration? Because like some of it was like stuff that was done to teach a class.
If it's good, I mean, if you have people sell Hans Hofmann's, he was already always doing demonstrations of figure work and tearing up students' work and making batik for different ways.
Yeah.
You know, those will go for some money. I mean, you know, it does matter the quality of the art, and it's like I had a great aunt-in-law, and she has a huge estate that's still sitting there in Newport. And she only showed in that local community gallery. She didn't have a great track record. She did do nice work. Bill Varico, who was a big gallery guy in Newport, really liked her work and had some of it. But she quit doing oil paintings, and she started just doing prints. And there's kind of a hierarchy there, you know, oil paintings, watercolors, prints. So it's kind of hard to then start with the prints for an art market. Her oil paintings were long gone. Incidentally, to my great surprise, when I was at a flea market in Sandwich, I came across like 5 of her oil paintings from the 70s. So I bought them all to give to her, my sister-in-law, who's there. And pretty good, actually. So I think her son had not proper expectations for what her work was going to go for. And that's often a problem with dealing with estates, is people, my brother, maybe she'll be like a new Van Gogh. No, it just doesn't happen. And there could be bullshit. The big art dealers will sometimes play bullshit games. Have any of you have heard of Arthur Panasian? Well, this Falk guy who wrote the series, he and somebody else, or he was contacted by some dealers who got into Arthur Panasian's house on Long Island and found this big art estate of pretty good art. And a lot of writing he'd done, journals and so on. So they got together and were able to sort of promote Arthur Panasian as a kind of Van Gogh, this hidden unknown artist. And in that case, it benefited them that they didn't have any auction records. There was nothing out there. This totally unknown artist. Well, I looked through all these, and they were selling them for $80,000 a piece in New York galleries. And they were able to do that because Falk had the connections. I looked through his body of work, the online pictures. There was nothing original there. An artist wants to develop a unique style that you look at the painting and you know it's them, right? That's always a goal, I think, of every painter, is that's to develop something where you look at it, you know it's them. And he didn't have that. He was sort of riffing off all the modern styles of the, mid-early 20th century, and they were good work. But I'm sorry, 80,000, no, maybe a few hundred, 1,000.
What was the connection that he sold? The paintings sold for so much. What connection did he have?
New York gallery scene. And they were able to get articles in the New York Times about this great discovery. And all my dealer friends were just laughing about it because it was just this were great big roots. Whether that's going to be sustained over time because they built auction records, I don't know, I doubt it. But when you actually look to see, is it really something unique and original and creative? No. I actually like some of his later work better. I thought it was maybe something that was more original, that wasn't as valuable.
I had someone ask me a while ago about an estate, and it wasn't an artist, it was somebody who owned a lot of artwork. And they were things that might be like in the Rail Museum.
Where would you sell those at auction?
Well, if they're really valuable, you want to, it depends on the auction. You want to go to a better auction house. So it's not always the best thing to go to Christie's or Sotheby's with an artist that's not super famous, but it's sort of well known, because it'll go in there on Christie's auction of, at home, which is a lower level. Still might get decent prices, but sometimes it's better to go to a place like Eldridge or something like that.
No, what about the married antiques, Frank Batnamy? I mean, he's... Who?
Marion Antiques.
Frank Batnamy. Yeah, maybe. I've seen some of his 19th century.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a Charles Gifford, for example, I would go there with it probably, or Eldridge. If you had somebody who sells well there, they usually have a lot of things.
Yeah.
What did I go back to this? There's so many questions. When a friend of mine, Harry Hopper, who's secondary marketing, he like you said, you got to get yourself into an auction house. So this is at a point where I was trying to establish myself in Detroit, and at some point, my wife and I are going to return to Detroit. But Dumichel's, which is one of the biggest ones in the Midwest. The weird thing is about works on paper, they wanted it framed, and they wouldn't even look at it unless it was framed. And he said, "We'll just put a shit frame on it," and that's what he did. He said, because it's, you know how the framing market is. It's like you put a black thing on white, you put it in wood, they want metals, and it wouldn't touch it.
It's very tough. Yeah, a lot of places won't sell just stuff. I mean, they say they won't at some auctions, but I've seen, for example, Eldred's, they'll have a rack with works on paper or just loose board with no frame.
Yeah.
Those aren't going to generally go for as much. Sometimes they have really nice things in there. That's how I look. So I think Barker says he won't generally take unframed works, but yes, this depends on who it is and what it is. People want to frame it, and it is expensive to frame something.
Oh, yeah.
I finally, in my house, I just decided, I had all these things I'd never hung because they weren't framed. I said, screw it. I hung a bunch of unframed.
I played last week with Bob Comments, you sell a sheet clay for $75. And you sell it in a frame, and then they go to Foss to have it framed, and they're like, "What?"
I have the sheet clay thing. I have to. The first time I saw sheet clay, it was many years ago, and I walk in and I'm like, "What is that?" And this guy just had it down. He said, "It's a sheet clay." It's the most brilliant marketing if you think about it. A fancy French word, giclée like word. Now there is one Joseph I keep thinking I want to take over to Riverside and have a giclée. It's the kind of thing I could sell in frame shops, reproductions of it. I might do that eventually. It's just kind of perfect for a bigger mass market. But I just thought that was so clever.
Well, my gallerist, my friend in Dallas in Portugal, when you say sheet clay, he get his skin starts to crawl. And it's like, he's like, "Which brand do Americans?" Oh, I said, "Well, I know sheet clay is nothing more than a glorified inkjet thing." "Yes, you don't do serography?" I said, "You ask people to do a silk screen of your work, they're gonna say you're insane because there's too many colors, blah blah blah." He said, "How come in Europe everybody does it?" So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's still so much to learn,
Yeah. So,
Well, one thing about it is you clay, pretty much if you get it wet, you're sunk. Because it's an inkjet.
And it's light and it's huge too. I mean, it's kind of what they say about.
so it has to be under glass and
So it's expensive to shoot.
Really expensive.
There's so many.
What is it making pricks of your paintings? Does it devalue the original, or does it make it more valuable?
I think actually, if I made a giclée of this one by Joseph, it would make the original. If it was popular, it would make the original more valuable. If it's sold. But there's so many games out there in the sort of. One of my favorite gallery things is. Have you ever heard of Galerie d'Orsay in Boston? Fancy French-sounding name. I have a friend I bought work from early on, and she made kind of wonderful, moody work that I love. I've got a bunch of her work around my house. And she got with them eventually, and I think her work is more typical abstracts for a mass market. Now, it's not for me, but it sells for a lot of money through that. And when I walked into this gallery, is I've seen this in other places. What they do is they'll get a print by Picasso and Matisse, have it on the wall for big money, and then they will have around the gallery these sort of schlocky impressionist paintings from Europe. And you can even find videos to go with these artists, and they'll be sitting there in their berets and talking about their art. And for somebody and they can sell those for $20,000-$30,000 in this gallery. For people who don't know what they're looking at, it works. So there's so many art marketing tricks out there that it's endless. I think going for hours. Okay, here's the best one though.
Bill Veryka was telling me this story. He was visiting, he said, the house of, he said, one of the most famous 19th century dealers in America. And the guy had a bunch of stuff lying around. He was looking through it. And he found this painting. It looked really nice. And he said, how much is this one? He goes, I've had that around for years. It was unsigned. And he said, you can have it for $1,000 what I paid for it. And he thought he recognized it. And he went home, he bought it for $1,000, went home and looked up in the John Kensett book, and there it was.
Whoa, what a giggle.
So, I mean, everybody's going to make mistakes. Even this guy was a top-level 19th century dealer, didn't know he had a John Kensett.
So how does the financial part work? Is there a reserve on the auction that it won't go over below a certain price?
You said,
So like when
With the auction house, they're going to be honest with you about what they think it can sell for. And it might be, they'll say 200 to 400. Usually the auction houses will sell a painting at half the low estimate. So if they estimate it for 200 to 400, they'll sell it for 100. It might go higher. You know,
You get what does the auction house get as a percentage?
they typically nowadays there'll be a buyer's premium, so the buyer pays now it's 20 something to 30%. The seller premium is something like, I forget, 20% or something. Yeah. So yeah, you only get a section.
Excuse me, you want another round of nachos?
I'd like to know my burger.
Sig Haynes isn't here.
No? Okay. I saw it was like somebody told me to look up somewhere and that it was wrong.
Severine.
Sevescane.
Yeah, they have a key there.
Yes.
So you want to go in there and correct that?
I don't know how. Do I just email them and say you're wrong?
No. You write a proper save them time and effort. You write a proper biography.
okay, bigger one.
Talk about his, where he showed and everything like that, and then you send that to them. Yeah.
Okay.
I have put lots of artists in. I put a number of artists in there, and also made corrections. They're pretty reasonable.
So, Richard, we got the boomers who are starting to flood the market. What's going to happen? I mean, we've had this conversation years back, and when I was doing the wine show, there's this. It's not a concept; it's an actuality. Something called the art lake. And what the art lake is all the unsold wine, or wine that even some of the best houses in Europe don't want to sell. They had a bumper crop year, and if they up their bottling, more bottles this year than last year, they'll be forced to drop their prices. So they're not doing well. So they would sell this stuff to sell for vinegar, glacial acetic acid, and so on and so forth. Then I thought, there's got to be something similar to the art market. So I tried to look up Art Lake, and we're from around here. He was the old weatherman, but L10. But this guy, he knows nebulous cloud of floating art.
That's what I'm talking about. These artist states that my dealer friends get that I have. Joseph Alexander is a case in point. So what do artists do, right? It's not a real market where they produce according to demand. Artists are going to art. Painters can paint. So they do. And they might get a gallery show, sell 3 out of 20, and then go paint 20 more. And it builds up over the time. And you end up, in Joseph's case, and in many others, with tons and tons of paintings. And so it's a problem. And I don't want to be sitting on Joseph's 1,000 remaining paintings, till I'm 90. So I'm going to start moving them more.
I mean, I'm looking at the racks that I've got of my stuff, and I'm thinking of my instructors from SMU, at Tornieri. One of us was lucky enough to find one of his pieces in Sabres for $5.
That's what Steve Remick on Allison Wells would do after a few years. They would offer particular works at discount.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a great nocturne of Steve's, and probably because it was a nocturne. I walk into Gallery X, his little ones sell for $250. So it's a 24 by 16 or something, or just nocturne, $250. Yes, thank you. So,
I mean, Ed Tornieri's claim to fame was he's one of the developers of acrylic paints. He worked with the Bocor brothers, Magnacolor, and all that of the stuff. I mean, he was a fine artist himself. And then, you guys know, because with Cindy, the other Cindy, Lisa Rabbit would buy books. Well, Elliot was another instructor, Frank McCoy. And then it was Herc Cummings. I mean, these guys made money during their lifetime. They were faculty members. They were exhibiting, they were selling, and now, poof, where is that stuff?
It's out there.
That's what the Artist Index
Yeah.
is. One of the the germs of of getting this thing going is we just at least. I've got a friend who will remain unnamed. He's very pragmatic, and he said, "Look, the choice is the dumpster or bonfire." So now I've been talking to somebody else, and they said, at the very, very least, if you can catalog, if you can photograph the work, get the bios, get the statements, get at least they're not dead. Because look,
Is the person a good painter?
Huh?
Is the person a good
We're
painter?
talking Togneri, Herb Cummings. I mean, again, they were good, and they were well. Togneri was.
I've looked up
another one of offense.
Herb does. I looked up Herb, and he doesn't have much there, but I saw one knockout.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
the King Biscuit.
Forget it.
bid.
Gorgeous.
I know. No.
Well, no, I mean, there was one of these friends who hunts down dealers on estates. He's very industrious, so he had an estate by one artist, and he just found out the guy had a brother. Hey, maybe he's an artist too. Cole called him in Kentucky. The guy had a basement full of art and is getting ready to throw it all away. He said, I'm just going to throw it away. So he said, don't throw it away. He drove down there in a truck. He said, I'll find homes for it. And he was selling it at Brimfield for like $1,500. And I got one because they're good. And, and it'll be circulating and it'll eventually show up in the auction records. And he's I was going to throw it away.
And I mean this with utmost affection. Then there's an anomaly like Zarla, who people coming to her and saying, I gotta clean up the studio. Paintings, paints, brushes, easels, canvases, the whole 9 yards. So she's like, I'm not an art dealer, but I'll take the supplies, the materials. But how many, as the Matuba in Nigeria, the Matuba sales, all those clothes that you put in those things on the side of the road, there's a huge market. They buy it by the pound, and they're looking for snowflakes. They're looking for a 1975 Boston Garden Led Zeppelin T-shirt, which will pay for everything. They're more. I mean, in Europe and Africa, they're insane for vintage T-shirts. So she might have some stuff just sitting in there that might be to say, I'll sell my business and throw it out there now. I don't know. I mean, but again, this is all pie in the sky. They're all for great stories. What is the practicality? I mean, she's a...
Well, I would say just, again, people can be too precious about it and think, there's this myth out there that an artist's price has to gradually increase over time.
I mean, skyrocket.
Yeah. That's. So, I dropped Joe Alexander's price. People have had 15 years to pick it over, and they've done it. I think there's still a lot of really good work left, but I need to move in. And I'm probably going to, take a truckload to Brimfield. Because there's too many.
Question for you. You said a few times that art's good or not. How do you know if art is good?
Oh boy.
I think I have a pretty good eye. And I belong to these Facebook pages where they have identify my artwork and so on. And some of the most common paintings people will show in there is, hey, I found this at a place, and how much is it worth will be these Chinese factory paintings, which literally make me physically ill. And I walk into a house and they are on the wall, but people obviously think they're attractive and buy them, sofa size painting for $20. You remember the commercial?
Bombing artist sales.
They're all these Chinese art. So it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But for people who are experienced collectors, there's what I tell people is I say, if you go to museums and look at art, and look at good art, good galleries, and when you get to the point where the surface really matters, where the brushwork and how the art's applied, not just the image, then I think you have an eye. Then you have an eye when you really are paying attention to painting. I'm not really fond of palette knife paintings, but sometimes, de Stael, Nicholas de Stael, I thought fantastic. He was a very famous palette knife painter. I just adore his work. So it just depends on how it's done. Generally, I like brushwork, but that's just me.
Well, it's like Frank Bowling, Sir Frank Bowling Jr. Saw him in the other day on the way to probably the first one that I ever was going to expose myself to. The surface on that guy's work was or I was wet my pants.
Did anybody here Tom Sullivan?
Oh yes.
Okay, Tom Sullivan was a Swain grad, and he was a troubled guy. He was very reclusive, sweetheart, and he painted with a palette knife. You'd never know it looking at it. It looked like little impressionist paintings. And as he said to me, he says, "Nobody paints like me." And he was right. He was good. I gave one of his paintings away, but I have two.
I got to ask you, Eddie Condor paints with popsicles.
Yeah. Which depend on me. Cause
Tom Sullivan?
there was a small painting that I always loved to use, saying, "Please."
That was probably Tom.
That was palette.
Yeah, I can show you again. Tom, I gave one to Howard Gifford, Westport. You might know him. He was a good friend of mine. When he passed, I gave one to his wife because she loved it. She said, "I always remember that one little painting that I had in my house." So, but I have a pretty big one of Secana River and another small one. He was really good. I don't know where most of his work is. I think people just bought his work. You know, Bill Veronica has some of his work. People just bought it.
I have a question too, because people are asking me now, and I don't know what to tell them. But they have one of my dads, and they're like, "What do I insure it for?" I'm like, "What you bought it for?" I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It costs you money to find out.
oh yeah, yes, I think it's, unless you have a really valuable painting, I would
Right. Just
worry about it, I think the art insurance thing is problematic.
yeah.
But
Oh, and speaking of which, do we have any? Well, Michael Rose is the only one I know of. He's one of the managers at the Providence Art Club. But do we have anybody in this area as an appraiser?
oh, I don't know. A million years ago, I had Al Walker appraise a painting. Okay. I did one, I got this French guy, Jean-Pierre Garth. But yeah, I don't know. I'm certainly not an appraiser. I suppose I could become one. Yeah. Yeah.
Be in big trouble.
Any other questions, folks? I mean, this has been great. I mean, we can keep going if you want to keep going.
I'm happy to. That's chipboard.
So how do we get our work in an auction again? I mean, I'm so confused. If I went to Pete's house, I have a friend who's the fire chief, but I have no real connections with. So,
Yeah.
other than I did show once at Symbolic Scouter.
Okay.
But I mean,
Yeah. There's in this region again, I think it's just Eldred's and the Bacher one, and there's others around that are general estates auctions and things like that. The ones that are known more for art, you go over to Connecticut Shannon's, but they're pretty pricey. Yeah, it's just take some investigation, thinking and matching, looking at what they've sold as they. Yeah, like I know Siggs could do all right in, because he's known around here, his beautiful work. I know it would have a market, and you just have to do, like Pat's kids did, and let everybody know, fight over it, and put a pretty one in there.
We have one in my.
Evan, yeah.
As you've been talking, I was like, I know, but
Yeah, then you can, and that'll be really good. And
I don't know where. You say Eldred's or?
I think, yeah, put it Eldred's. I really like Eldred's now. I think when Skinner's kind of went down,
How do you spell?
Eldred's went up. And also, what's the other one in Boston that's pretty good? Grogan's in Boston is quite good.
Grogan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eldredge is ELDEDS.
Dennis. Yeah, but they've really, really amped up their game in the last 10 years.
Now, let me ask you, Army. Here. Set about me as an example. I was an abstract expressionist for a long time. And then, I flipped over to socially-conscious expressionism. And one of the reasons why I did that is because the market was flooded, especially with the poor paintings and all the other, abstract is so much fun. Yeah, I'm here. I've been opening up my veins for years, to do abstract work. So, what do you do in that market when it's just so much? And then I'm noticing, like on Instagram, there are. If I could run that stuff through AI, I bet you I could find 15 artists who are doing almost exactly the same style. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know. And a lot of all the mid-century dealers are selling on Instagram.
What do you mean? The work
Oh.
is like yours?
They look like each other.
I haven't started doing that yet. Yeah, I don't know.
Selling on Instagram.
Yeah, they all sell on Instagram.
My open is also standing on Instagram.
They're probably,
Yeah, I did.
you know who's doing a good job of
Someone liked it. I said you can buy it.
You know who's doing a good job of it is Steve Remick.
Yes.
Because he sells everywhere. He's on that, art, the one that has 1 million artists. He's on Cherish. He's probably on First Dibs. I don't know. So he's got himself out there in different places. He's doing a very good job.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the advice for the present and the future.
Oh, go ahead. Steve has a good auction record out of the blue. He didn't even know it, but one showed up on the Cape.
Really?
And I wish I could have bought it. It was one of these beautiful winter scenes. There's a little study that it only went for a couple hundred, but this beautiful winter scene path, only for like 700 for a small one. That was really good.
He's in our gap.
Yeah, so without trying, he got a nice, if I was him, I told him he should have told everybody he knew. And maybe he did, I don't know. But, so it happens, you sell stuff, he said, yeah, I think I remember who I sold that to. They probably passed away. It happens.
All right, so advice for the living artists and advice for the family of artists who have passed on. Because it's really,
If you're a living artist, again, make sure it's signed legibly. I love mystery paintings, but for your legacy, you shouldn't make them.
But this sign on the back legibly is.
Yeah, if you sign the painting in the back, write it out so people can read it.
Sign on the back of
I've had paintings that all of a sudden after years I went, oh, and figured it out. But,
What do you call it? The mystery it is.
it's a painting that is unsigned or illegibly signed. Now, here's a trick. Here's a dealer trick. I was at Brimfield, and there's this guy I'm always a little wary of him. He often has good stuff. And he had this really nice tonalist painting. And it was a mystery painting, according to him. And I couldn't read it. And it's a really nice tonalist painting, and I bought it for $600. And after about a year or two, it suddenly hit me, I could read it. And I realized he could read it too. Because guess what it was worth in the auction records? About $600. So he had told me at the time, if you can figure it out, you got a $2,000 painting. He knew. So dealers will play the trick of the mystery painting to get people to pay more. And
When we were at your house the other day, we were in the back hallway going down those stairs, and he was telling about this one, there's a signature, but I can't read it. But as I was coming down the stairs, looking at it from that aspect, I was able to get at least half of the signature.
yeah.
So he's on the search.
Yeah, you just, sometimes it can take years and all of a sudden you recognize it. Or somebody else can come in and recognize it. My first flea market, right? So I've never been to a flea market, and I go to the Taunton Flea Market, which used to be this big parking lot. And that's the best kind of flea market, is one where trucks people clean out houses, and they bring stuff in a truck and they just dump it. And so there's this truck. I'm first ever flea market. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I go up to this truck where there's this crowd gathered. And this guy pulls out these two huge 19th century gorgeous landscapes in big gilded frames. And immediately, 500 each, immediately somebody whips out, boom, boom. I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to know who that was. There probably were thousands. And, but I said, I can't compete with this crowd. So I wandered off and I'm looking around, and here's this little old lady in a white van, and she sells glass, and she's got glass out in the shelves, and then she pulls out this painting. Okay, how much?
100, boom, I give it to her. There's somebody right on my heels. And it's a 1928 painting by Stephen Macomber, who taught for years and years and years at RISD. And evidently he was like if you ever saw The Paper Chase, he was like that professor. You know, here's a dime, go call your mother and tell her you'll never be an artist. Oh, yeah. So he was a bit of a curmudgeon and got into politics and never became famous. But this is a gorgeous nocturne from 1928 in a period frame. I still have it.
Speaking of frames, there was a neighbor and I was, if I brought it home, my wife would have killed me because she says I'm a collector and she's being nice, needing a quarter, right? But it was a composition frame. And I'm saying to myself, I bet you that sucker's worth at least $350. So I did some real quick research not on that particular frame, but on frames. Some of those gilt frames are worth more than the art that's sitting inside of them. Well, it's like, I don't have the time to now take that,
Would I take it?
Exactly. Where would we take? A weird consequence of that is that sometimes I'll buy a painting that's like with a frame that's like that, but it sells for the price of the painting, not the frame. Sometimes people recognize the frame. So I have this 1921 painting in a gorgeous Art Deco frame, and I'm sure the frame is worth what I paid for it. Yeah. But it's just funny how that works.
So how would I get a frame appraised? A friend of mine gave it to me, and the back of it is from a gallery in New York. And the lady that gave it to me said that it was in the MFA.
Oh.
The frame itself is that thick. It's got velvet. And you know how we wire our frames? It has a cord.
It could be a famous frame marker. So one of these art dealer friends was at Elders with me one time, and he wanted to buy back this painting he had sold years earlier. And he was so bummed when they separated the painting from the frame, because the frame itself was a known guy, and it was sold for $15,000 independently of the painting. He was hoping to get them both together.
So I know Bernie Gifford. Do you know Bernie?
Yes.
He sells,
I haven't seen him in a billion years, but yeah.
I see him all the time at the handy house because he sells the antiques there.
Yeah.
I don't know where to bring it just to see.
He used to get people like Charles. He was into Charles Gifford and people like that. Huh? Yeah, no, there's a million Giffords. But I haven't seen him in decades, like 20 years.
So where would I bring that frame?
I don't know. I would do an AI search to take pictures of it, and I don't know frames that well. I need to know learn frames about it myself. I don't know frames. No. I used to take mid-century paintings to a guy who got mid-century frames, and he would frame them for me, but he stopped doing that.
I wonder if Bill Brett would.
Ooh.
Bill, the guy from New Park.
Maybe. Yeah. But, take pictures of it. Try the AI search first. See, Google Image is really quite good. And sometimes I took a mystery painting I found, it's really gorgeous. And I searched Google Image, it's unsigned. And there was another one clearly by this artist. It's definitely there. Oh boy. I click on the link, it was gone from that link. So hopefully I'm still going to eventually find it out. But,
Yes.
There is, and all these dealers I know and buy from. I mean, I bought a lot of art from these guys who got these mid-century states and sold to me at places like Brimfield. And I've written a book on art collecting, and I haven't done anything with it yet. But one of the points I make in there is that people at Brimfield.
I'm sorry, you said you wrote a book?
Yeah, I haven't published it. So you watch the behavior of people at Brimfield, and there's a certain manners to doing things. So these dealers, there's certain ways, they'll say, I gotta have $2 for it. That means they need 200. And I don't want to haggle beyond that. Or I'll say, what's the best you can do? And I don't go beyond that. Because if you're going to see these people over and over and you beat them up on price, they're not going to call you when they get that nice painting. Right. And I get these guys with, so you get to what they really want to get. And they'll come down, but you've got to say, what's the best you can do? Or they'll say, I've got to have. And I kind of don't beat them up after that. Some of these designers, you'll come in by and pound on them, and they're not going to call those people.
Oh, the art market remains as ancient as the bazaars. you know.
Yeah, it's all over the map.
I mean, I remember my dealing partner, ex-mother-in-law. She would go into a flea market to $10. And I would see her in the aisles with 2 lamps. Then I would see her in the aisle with something else. Then I see her in the aisle with something else. And then we're going home, and she showed me $100. I said, Phyllis, where'd you get that $100? Probably the $10. She buy the 2 lamps, go to a booth, sell it for something else. Then go buy a paint, go to Nick. Okay, but it's that weird thing, dude. Got a bad art itself.
If you haven't been to Brimfield, never. It's a hoot.
We gotta go.
It's a mile long. There's a bunch of different fields that open at different times for different periods. And everything under the sun. I saw a truck leaving there with those giant green Sinclair dinosaurs. I've seen a buffalo head, a stuffed shark, a big boy, box big, 30 feet high. People do that. I have no idea. But there's tons of art, tons of furniture, and tons of glass, and tons of everything.
Do you find the spring better than the fall? Because I've heard that
Spring is the busiest.
May's the best.
spring is the
May's the best. Okay, but let me. July is poor. July is the worst because of the heat. But I got one of my best deals in July because there was hardly anybody on this field. And I usually try to get dealer passes to my favorite fields so I can get in there and peek before the public, and that's really good. And but I didn't in this case. And I walk up to this. They have these paintings, and it's this really beautiful watercolor, and it's 300. You got it for 275. So I carry it. Look at it. It's a Canadian artist. I could put it in auction for $6,000 tomorrow. So if there had been a full field of dealers. They look at each other's stuff. Somebody would have gotten that.
I thought it only happened twice a year.
It's July and then September. September is also pretty big, not as big as May, but it's all fun. It's festive and it's carnival atmosphere, and everybody's excited, and there's food vendors and.
Do you stay overnight? I mean, is it that?
I have a fair day.
He lives there.
I go the day before it opens officially and sneak around.
They let you do?
No. But you can, and there's some places you can't. But I found some good stuff on Mondays, and then Tuesday is the opening day, and you got to be there. Crack of dawn, man. Crack of dawn.
Go with flesh.
Yes. And then Wednesday I'm there early, and then I've walked 60, 70,000 steps, and I'm exhausted, broke, and tired.
Yeah, but my sister bought me one of these big gorilla wagons so that I could go for the fair.
I hate people with wagons. They're like hazards. You're walking around the field, and they're dragging these wagons, and you trip over them. Yeah, but they, Who's asking? Woj.
I have something. So the way you were talking earlier, it also sounds like it's just worth it to get the paintings out there as well. Like rather than, just.
What if you just, ending up in a dump or whatever? Yeah, get them out there. Yeah, or Sigs aren't going to have in a dump, but that.
Well, I think some have at some point. Not by
It is true. Really good art gets put out in the curve.
Yep.
It happens all the time. People will find this stuff. Really good art gets left in houses, and houses clean up. That's why I found this stuff. Really good art gets tossed.
Yeah. In case owners die and not interested.
That's why the picking is great in New England. I was going through Georgia, rural Georgia, going to multi-dealer shops, antique malls. Sucks. Because nobody bought art. I looked for glass. And then you get to Florida, and the picking is good again because people from the north retire down there, bring their good stuff, and then they die. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
This video was proudly sponsored by the South Coast Artist Index. If you want to know more information, go to theartistindex.com.